Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Novella and today is the 10th of the month and that means a top 10 list. And today it is the top 10 novels about authors. The first novel I want to talk about is by a Belgian author named Amelie Nothomb. This is the Dutch version, but it's called in English Fear and Trembling. This is pretty much author fiction. She was born in Kobe because her father was a diplomat, and then when she was 18 she returned to Tokyo, and there she wanted to work as a translator while working on her novel. And this story is her decline as a translator in the workforce. It is funny, it is witty, some might find it insulting maybe. I thought it was funny, so yeah. She laughed mostly with herself and the differences between the Japanese and the Belgian culture. It's up to you whether you like it or not. It's a thin little thing, it's more of a novella. Then I also thought about The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. The Blind Assassin is about two sisters, and the story begins when one of the two sisters commits suicide by driving off a cliff with her sister's car. And the story is partly told through the novel the sister has written that committed suicide, and by paper clippings and the account of the remaining sister. Really interesting, really well written, I loved it. Then another book is from a Dutch author, it's Connie Palmen, and she wrote one of the most passionate books I've ever read. And it's Your Story, My Story by Connie Palmen. Your Story, My Story, this is of course the Dutch version. Your Story, My Story is actually the story of Sylvia Plath and her husband Ted Hughes, but told from the point of view of Ted Hughes. And it is beautiful, it is magnificent, it is passionate, it is with fire and just the way I like it. Connie Palmen is one of my favorite authors, and she really deserves a place in this list. Then another author that I really like is Coetzee, and his most fun and, well, fun in the Coetzee sense of the word, and obnoxious character in his novels is Elizabeth Costello. Elizabeth Costello is a 66-year-old, and she has written a couple of bestsellers, and she goes on with her life and her cats, and she is the most irritating but fun character to read. I love this. If you really want to get into Coetzee, this is a very good novel to start. That or The Slow Man, for instance. Elizabeth Costello also appears in that book, and yeah, I love her. I love her. She's one of my favorite characters in a novel. Then I also thought of, this is also the Dutch version, I'm sorry, of Checkout 19 by Claire Louise Bennet. The Checkout 19 is about a girl who is in love with literature. She comes from a working class family where literature isn't present in the home, nobody reads, and she just loves it. And Checkout 19 is the place where she works. So there she meets also people who love literature and where she can think about literature. I really liked it. Some people hate it. I loved it. It's a bit of a controversial list. Not everybody likes these books, but I love them, so yeah. It's also a matter of personality, I guess. I also thought of Matrix by Lauren Groff. Matrix was a big hit last year and the year before. I also did a deep dive on Matrix because I really enjoyed this book. This is about a woman named Marie de France, and she was a mystic, and she was a visionary and a poet, and she was known for her lays, and she wrote beautiful poetry that is still readable today, and she lived almost 1,000 years ago or 800 years ago. Very good, very funny. It is Marie de France is sent off to a monastery, and the monastery is very poor, and she takes over the place and she runs it with vigor and with a lot of passion, and before they know it, they are a very popular monastery. And that's why also she was one of the most influential women at that time. So yeah. Then also a Dutch author. It's named La Superba also in English. It's by Ilja Leonard Pfeijffer. He is also one of my favorite Dutch authors. And this is a very grotesque story about, it's also autofiction, about living as a Dutchman in Italy, in Genoa, and which is called La Superba, and it is about his adventures that he has there, and also about immigration and migration, and yeah, how people try to adapt the Italian lifestyle as a foreigner. It's quite funny. I loved it. I really enjoyed the book. It's also not for everybody, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then this is also a Dutch version, the Gypsy Goddess by Meena Kandasamy. Meena Kandasamy or Meena Kandasamy. Sorry sorry for the butchering of the name. This is the Gypsy Goddess. So in Tamil Nadu, in 1968, there was a massacre. 44 people were killed, old men, women and children, and they were burned alive. Sorry for in the Indian village Kilvanmani. And they don't know who did it. They never caught them, but actually everybody knows who did it. And so this is about a person, an author who is struggling to write a story as a novel. Then I also thought of Selby, Wynn, Schwartz after Sappho. After Sappho was shortlisted or longlisted for the Booker, and I really, really liked it. It is a sort of experimental novel about all the authors that were heavily influenced by the poems of Sappho. So we see a whole lot of people passing by, like Virginia Woolf, Vita Sackville West, Oscar Wilde. There are a huge amount of authors passing by, and I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It is not for everybody again. I'm sorry. I talked about this book a couple of times already on this channel, and it is Knut Hamsun's Hunger. This is also the Dutch version. Hunger is about a young writer who literally gives up everything to be able to write, and he's so hungry. He lives on the streets. He's at a certain point he's so hungry that he wants to eat his pencil, but he doesn't, because he still wants to write. And it is actually a bit of autofiction of Knut Hamsun, and he does everything to find a publisher, and yeah, he pulls through. So after a couple of books, he won the Nobel Prize. So it was the effort. It was worth the effort and the hunger to persevere. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this list, and I see you tomorrow from my coffee clutch. Bye bye.